I'm at the first Patreon assembly with Scout Tofoya. Scout, I saw on your Patreon that you said if you get to 1,000 patrons that you will quit your jobs.
That's right.
What does that look like for you?
It just means not working in bars anymore.
And what does that mean, though? Because I know that that's most creators' dreams, to be able to just create and do exactly what they want to do.
It would be nice to have like this much extra free time, just because the stuff that I do, the video essays, they're like, you know, you can get one or two done in a day if you're like super judicious, but then afterwards you have to go stand behind a bar for 6-7 hours and then go home and go to sleep and do it all over again. So
it's incredibly time consuming, and you want to be able to get all that content for your fans, but you also have to pay your bills at the same time.
Exactly.
So yeah, I completely understand. Do you think that that is something you're going to be able to do via Patreon?
I have no idea. It would be super cool to think that, and I just thought, you know, why not shoot for the stars?
How long have you been at that for?
I started it, I want to say 2 years and change ago, and you know, it's been up and down. Certainly, it's a weird niche thing that I do. That I completely understand that it's not something that people think about throwing into their monthly budget to pay for video essays on obscure westerns. But everybody's been super supportive. I mean, even the people who sort of came and went were really kind about responding to the work and engaging with me and commenting on it. It's just been wonderful. The beautiful thing about sharing film-related content online is you find people who have been passionate about this stuff for years, and you know, you're saying something that I think people have been looking for someone to say for a very long time. You know, people who have loved movies since they were a kid, and then finally here's this weird 6-minute video essay about a thing that they've been in love with finally being articulated. I really do think like that's cathartic for a lot of people. I hope so anyway. So yeah, it's yeah.
I agree, and apparently it's working out very well for you, because today you are here and you're talking with Patton Oswalt, which is pretty huge.
Yes.
Are you a fan of his? How did that all come to be?
I literally, in like the darkest way possible, I've been a fan of Patton Oswalt since I was a teenager. My dad bought us his first stand-up record, and we used to listen to it on like family road trips and stuff like that. So when
like in the car?
Yeah, for real. Yeah, like the whole family loves Patton Oswalt. That was like the one thing that I could like write home to my parents and my siblings and be like, look, I'm doing fine. Patton Oswalt likes my videos. So
is it just random that he's the person you're talking with today, or did you special request that, or how did that?
I didn't do anything. This was all his doing. I'm only here because he's the nicest man in the world.
So you met him a while ago, and
he went on Tom Sharpling's Best Show and talked about my work, and I like just through floods of tears called everybody I knew to brag.
He's just a super fan of yours from Patreon.
Well, initially he found me on RogerEbert.com. I do a series for them called The Unloved, and that led into selling video essays in the journalistic economy right now is basically impossible because nobody knows what they're worth, but everybody assumes they're too expensive. So I went to Patreon with all these ideas I couldn't sell elsewhere, which has been the most amazing experience because I've gotten so much done that I had been dreaming about doing for years. So he was a fan of the stuff that I did for Ebert and a couple of other outlets, and then he found the Patreon page and has been a donor for a long time and is just the most supportive and wonderful human being I've ever met. So
have you told him what a super fan you were of his and growing up and your whole family listening?
It was the first thing I said, like a total dork. I was like, well, I just want to tell you that I love you so much and this means so much to me and all that. So yeah, I would like, you know, I got all the gushing out of the way first.
Well, Patreon's a pretty amazing platform because it does connect people like this, and it does allow people who are fans of yours to really show that fandom and support you.
Yeah.
If you had to predict in the future where Patreon is going, do you think that this is going to be the #1 platform for creators in 5 years, 10 years down the line?
I mean, it's doing so much good, and it is so important to so many people. The idea that there are people who are able to, afford their lives because they just put their ideas out there where people could find them. Like, that's the most beautiful thing in the world. Like, it's obviously super validating to have a passion for something and then throw it out to, you know, everyone and have people come back to you and say, yeah, this is important enough to me that I'm willing to, you know, show you this. Like, I can't see this not being huge. Like, it's been amazing and so important to me. Like, it helps me pay rent and afford food. It's the most important thing.
A lot of people who are creators want to be Patreon users, but they don't know how to get started. What is your advice for creators out there who see Patreon and they want to do this? Is it advice with the tiers or how to make your first step?
I would say start, in a way that doesn't, make everyone aware of your ambition, let them know right away, like, this is what I'm doing, and it is important, and this is like, you know, this comes from a very meaningful place in me, and if that is what you respond to, then they will find you. Like, absolutely. If you had told me that I would be able to, you know, live like not in fear of like not being able to pay the rent because people were watching my like video essays on like obscure Disney sci-fi films from the 70s, I wouldn't have believed you. Like it has been such a surprise. So I would just say that just try it. You know what I mean? You lose nothing by trying. And you know, and look where I am.
It's pretty amazing.
It's insane.
Guys, let's help Scout not be able to live in fear just a little more. Let's get him to those 1,000 patrons. We can do it. I believe in you, AfterBuzz TV, and we will buzz you guys later. Thank you, Scout.
Thank you so much.